Hello, Megamaniacs, and welcome back to the PC Engine Files, where today we're taking a look at Ordyne from 1988. It started out as an arcade game, and later came to PC Engine, and eventually TurboGrafx-16 in the United States. Now, Namco themselves describes this as a comical action shooter, but I think it straddles the line between that and what I would refer to as the cute-em-up genre, particularly games like Fantasy Zone, which this has a lot in common with. Not everything, but some very familiar elements in terms of not just the cute look, but the actual gameplay aesthetics. For example, when you shoot down a whole wave of enemies, you pick up these crystals that are akin to the coins in Fantasy Zone, where the more of them you collect, the more upgrades you can buy. And just like in Fantasy Zone, when you buy an upgrade from the shop, it's not a permanent upgrade to your ship. It lasts for a finite amount of time and then wears off and you go back to your stock shooter. So if you've played Fantasy Zone before, Ordyne will feel very familiar, sans the bases that are spitting out enemies that you have to destroy. It's more of a traditional side-scrolling shoot-'em-up, but it definitely has the Fantasy Zone elements within it. Ordyne was one of the first games I got for my TurboGrafx-16 when I started collecting for the system in the early 2000s. And at the time, it was a very reasonably priced game. It wasn't in high demand, and I don't think it was that well known outside of its native Japan, where when it came out in arcades, it was a very successful game. In fact, Game Machine listed it as the second most successful table arcade game of 1988. So, pretty high on the list for Japanese players, but I don't think it ever captured that market here. Probably didn't sell that well when it was ported to TurboGrafx-16, and the TurboGrafx-16, as we all know, didn't sell very well here at all. So, a lot of factors working against there being a plentiful supply of Ordyne. So at first, when the retro collecting game enthusiasts were sort of an obscure niche, you could get Ordyne fairly cheaply, and I did. But these days, it's not going to be that way. The PC Engine version is slightly more affordable if you have a HuCard converter. Loose, $21, complete, $28, and for the has to be sealed and never opened people, $81. Now, if you want the TurboGrafx-16 version that came out in the North American territories, you're going to pay $42 loose, $63 complete, and $120 sealed. Obviously, the prices will change after this video. They may go up, they may go down. But the bottom line is, the price has gone up significantly since the days when I first got into the system, so judge accordingly as to whether or not you would want to get Ordyne based on this video and the current price it commands, and definitely emulate it first before you make those kind of decisions. Now, I personally enjoy Ordyne because it's a shooter that forces you to learn the ropes, but it doesn't punish you excessively with undefeatable waves of enemies where if you don't have every single thing down pat, you're just absolutely screwed. The crystal system for collecting power-ups from the shop is a rewarding system because if you do memorize the wave patterns and you get the crystals, you can get temporary boosts that will make your gameplay experience a little more manageable. Like when you get to the boss at the end of the first wave, if you have the triple shot, it's much easier to take out the gun turrets on the top and the bottom of the boss, and then you can concentrate on the weak point in the middle. So even if your triple shot runs out while you're doing the boss, you still have a good chance of succeeding. My advice for first-time Ordyne players when you get to that end boss is stay all the way to the left, because it fires one charged shot that moves really fast. So even when the gun turrets are taken out, you still have to look out for that shot. And if you're not all the way to the left, you're not going to get out of the way of it in time. Unless you've gotten a couple of speed boosts, but Again, I don't know if that would help because I imagine they wear off just like the gun reload does, so don't count on the speed boost saving your ass when you're fighting the boss. I would just knock out the top and bottom gun turrets and then get all the way over to the left and make sure you dodge the enemy shots that are going to one-hit kill you and take out that spot in the middle, that weak point. Just use the same kind of tactical shoot-em-up strategies you would use on any similar game like Gradius or R-Type. You've got that skill set, then you're going to be fine with Ordyne. In case you're wondering, there is a plot to this shoot-em-up game. You don't need to know it to play it, but I'll go ahead and share it with you anyway. You're the genius scientist Yuichiro Tomari, and your assistant is Sunday Chin. You are attempting to rescue Yuichiro's fiancé, Kana Ibara, from the evil Dr. Kubota and his army of robotic minions. Why did Dr. Kubota kidnap your fiancé? That I don't know for you. I'm just telling you what I do know, and you're off to rescue her. And to rescue her, you have to defeat all of his minions, which include this enemy boss ship that you see right here. That's the game. Is Ordyne something that you have to have? Well, it's not the most important shoot 'em up out there. It's not the greatest shoot 'em up out there. If I had to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it falls somewhere between 6 and 7 in terms of quality. It's not a classic. It may be better regarded where it was more successful in Japan, but here it's obscure for a reason. It doesn't stand out compared to much better examples of the shooting genre or even the shoot-em-up genre. If I was ranking them, I'd put Fantasy Zone up near the top of the list. 8, 9, 9.5. It's one of my all-time favorite games, shoot 'em up or otherwise, and Ordyne is decent, but it's not that good. It's certainly not $42 loose and $60 complete good. So my recommendation to you is if you have an EverDrive or a Super SD System 3 or a nice computer with a good emulator, try this one first. I know I always say that, but the prices for TurboGrafx 16 and PC Engine games don't seem to go down very often. In fact, more often they seem to go up and continue to go up, so you have to be very selective when it comes to the kind of money you're going to spend on these games, especially if you're working with a finite budget and you would like to collect games for multiple systems, but if you spend $60 on one game, there's your budget out the window. So take into account that Ordyne is good, but maybe not $60 good. And even at that, it's still one of the more affordable TurboGrafx games, which just goes to tell you how ridiculous it's gotten over the past few years. So hopefully with the PC Engine files, I'm doing you the service of at least letting you see what it's like, letting you know what it's about, and giving you that opportunity to evaluate it by watching this video and then trying it yourself and evaluating it and making an informed decision, because woe betide to anybody who just goes out and buys every single one of these games for TurboGrafx 16 without knowing anything about them, possibly not even enjoying them, and having sunk a small fortune into trying to complete a set of these games, which, quite frankly, you can't do, because when you get to the stuff like Magical Chase, it's impossible to find and so stupidly expensive if you could find it that you wouldn't do it. And even if you would, what are the chances it could be a fake? Because the incentive to counterfeit something for the prices those go for is so high. People are counterfeiting Pokemon games that go for far less than things like Magical Chase, so I can't rule out the idea of somebody trying to do it and you not being able to tell the difference, and then you've spent a lot of money on something that's just a trophy piece and doesn't even belong in your trophy case because it's fake. So be careful. Buyer be warned. But Ordyne probably isn't being faked that much. I wouldn't say not at all because anything and everything is possible. I've seen fakes of Sega Genesis games that ship direct from China on eBay, which should be your first tip off. Sorry to the Chinese market out there, it's just true. And second of all, if it goes for $5 or $10, and normally a North American copy of that game goes for 50 or 100, you're not getting an authentic game. Just know that. And instead of giving a Chinese bootlegger your money, you should just emulate it in that case anyway, because they're not paying the rights holders, so nobody is benefiting from that transaction. The bottom line is, to come to a close on this episode, I like Ordyne, but I also like the price I paid for it at the time, which definitely wasn't more than $5 or $10. And maybe with inflation adjusted, that would be 20 or 30 now, but I don't think it would be 60, and I don't think I would pay 60 for this game. I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and as always, thank you for watching the PC Engine Files. Like, comment, and share. Those things help the channel out. And if you're new and you like the PC Engine Files, then subscribe and stick around because we have a new episode every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. You don't have to be here when it goes live. You can watch them on demand anytime you want, as well as the whole PC Engine Files catalog. We've got no shortage of episodes, and there are no shortage of games for this console, so we'll have a lot to discuss in the months and years to come. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.